Sure. It's 5:10, and I'll call the meeting to order. Dave, you gotta read off the,
Yeah, actually, could you hold off on, hold 1 second? I got to actually, oh, it's already recording.
Yeah, it's recording still.
Oh, all right, okay. Was it recording? All right, anyway.
Yeah, the whole time.
Oh, geez, okay, that's gonna be a problem. He's gonna, because that was, I was explaining to Josh before you got here what, I didn't know if you were gonna make it, Bruce, so I tried to explain to him what was going on. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 19, and the Governor March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Freetown Cable Advisory Committee is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort is being made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A recording of this open session portion of this meeting will be posted to the town's YouTube channel, youtube.com/FreetownMA, following the conclusion of the meeting. That's the formal statement. We had a couple things on the agenda. One is to go over where we were specifically with the issues that we talked about last time with council. I still have that list. To be honest with you, Bruce, I haven't had an opportunity to do anything on that list since the last meeting, between the budget, town meeting, the reopening of the town hall, which we're hoping is going to happen next Thursday, and all the other various and sundry things that have been going on. But I did mention to Josh that you, Andy DeGamo, and Jose had a meeting regarding the new police station, and the fact that we wanted to put the wiring in before the building is buttoned up, so we then in the future don't have to basically make new holes in the wall, because we can run the conduit in the lines now. We do have $12,000 in the reserve receipts account, which has been appropriated, that we can expend. The thought was that we take 10,000 of that and use it for the purpose of running the electricity and the cabling for 5 cameras. And actually, I don't know if you got the notice, Bruce, that they're going to be meeting down in Lakeville on Monday at 1:30, I believe.
Yeah.
I probably am not going to be there for that, but they're going to have the engineer down there. He's going to draw a schematic, and we're going to then price it out and hopefully be able to get all that work done while the building is still wide open and not have to spend.
the way I understood that, Dave, was that the Lakeville's engineer was gonna be there, right? No?
Yeah, but we're going to have our consulting engineer there too. He's going to actually, I don't think Jose, in terms of the technical part of it, we need somebody that can actually draw on the plans and know specifically what is required in terms of actually laying on the plans the schematic of how the cameras will be placed and where they'll be placed and how those lines will be run. So that's going to come back to our engineer to do that, so that we can then get a price to do the work.
And what's that gonna cost us?
Well, that's what the reason I want the meeting. Oh, in terms of the engineer, the whole thing, Andy said we could do it for less than $10,000. So
Yeah, but that doesn't even include the installation. So we're gonna spend $10,000 for somebody to lay out a wiring diagram?
No, the 10,000 is going to include the schematic.
Yeah.
And it's going to include having the current, I think, I don't know if Andy's can better answer this, but having the current electrical contractor run the electric wires to power the camera and cabling to power the cameras, and put the drops in that side room that we had talked about, the storage room, the 20-foot square, it's A141 on the architectural plans, and put the drops in there, so that when we get to the point, what I'm basically doing, I don't know how much it's going to cost, but I know it will be less than $10,000. I would just like to get the authority from the Cable Advisory Committee to say, you know, we can spend up to 10,000. We'll reserve 2,000 for paying for the Lake Cam and for not Lake Cam, Middleborough Cam to tape meetings. I don't anticipate that happening anytime soon, where we're actually physically going to meet and be taping meetings. That's what that money is generally reserved for. But we can also use it for any other cable-related expense. Now, the thing is that if we have all the wiring in and we have the boxes in and we have the brackets and the mounts and everything, when we come around to the fall town meeting, which is probably going to be early this year, it's probably going to be the end of September, beginning of October, because we may, depending upon the COVID situation, have to go outside again. I'm not sure. We're having a town meeting outside. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's going to be at the football field and on June 20th. And then we have a rain date on June 27th. And if both of those dates don't pass or don't weather-related cancellations, then we're preparing what they call a 1/12 budget, which is the ability of the board under the governor's law to newly adopted law to allow us to spend without an appropriation, basically, for 1/12 of the annual budget until we can get a town meeting together to do that. Now, October, what I would like to see is us have an article on in an amount that will then allow us to purchase the cameras and any ancillary type of equipment. I know Jose had mentioned a server, a modem, a computer, and there was one big ticket item there. I said it was like $1,500 bucks. I think that was the modem. So that what that will allow us to do, and then the other thing was a shut-off switch that goes over to dispatch, so we can shut the whole system down. Because that's a law that you can't have a live system in a public meeting place, such as a community room, without having a kill switch. So what I'm basically looking for is the authority to a vote to say, yes, we can spend that money to put the wiring in, to get the plan done, and to move forward with it so that we can get it done before the building is buttoned up.
So do we got to, this is Josh, do we got to officially open the meeting, or?
I thought we did that, no?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I didn't know if we did the second and all that stuff. I didn't remember. I thought we kind of, all right, maybe.
We don't need that to open the meeting.
All right, I just was curious. I didn't know if we need.
No problem.
Well, I guess I gotta, after thinking about, after the meeting we had the other day, David, thinking about the whole situation, I did some checking into it, and not really checking into it, but the room is only 34 by 38, from what I understand, which is about 1,300 square feet.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was concerned about is the actual usage of that once we get going. And the fact that we want to spend $10,000 to actually not really get anything, I don't think.
Well, once again, Bruce, that's not the number. We have up
no,
to.
I end up to.
It could be all done for like $3,500. I don't know that. We need to get quotes. I just don't want to be opening the walls up once we have the building.
No, I understand, and I don't think if you talk to Jose. He's the one that installed it at the Lakeville Police Department, and that's why they're going there on Monday.
That is correct, yep.
So my concern is that up to $10,000, I guess it's like this, after thinking about it, is how often that room is going to be used. How much does it cost us now to have somebody film the meetings now with once we get back into the regular mode?
Yeah, it's $125 a meeting.
So it's $125.
And I think there's another $50. It's $175 per meeting.
So,
And you
I mean,
average 2 a month, so that's $400 times 12, that's 12, 24, 36, that's $4,800.
yeah. So,
And that's
and
just the selectmen's meetings.
I know, but
We also do it for planning board, we do it for, we're gonna do all kinds of meetings there. I'm telling you, that's gonna be the community room. So I think that it would be wise at this point to use
I
those
don't want to,
funds.
I don't want to get, I don't want to be spending 10,000, up to $10,000.
Yeah.
You know, why, I guess my other question and my other concern or question is that this is the first time, I mean, I brought it up, what, 2 meetings ago that we inquire about the police department community room. And up till that point, it never has been even discussed. Is that correct?
We have discussed it a little bit internally, not specifically in terms of the cable advisory committee being involved, but this is, I raised it because now it's an opportunity.
No, I know that was why I raised it up, because if it hadn't been buttoned up yet, then it was a good time. I understand there's going to be drop ceilings put in there, number one.
Yeah, I don't know the construction. I know that there's a lot of plaster going up, and
I was told that there was going to be drop ceilings going in there. And then on the meeting we had the other day, I think the only concern that we would have would be the room that the chief said would be a viable option for that, and also running the cable from that room to the dispatchers to be able to shut that switch off and on.
Yeah.
And the other question is that, Jose did clarify the fact that we don't need electrical drops at each camera because it's going to be power over Ethernet.
Yeah, I hope he's right.
Well,
I'm not saying he isn't. That's an engineering question that our engineer would be able to clarify. I
don't think the engineer can clarify that, because the engineer, I don't think he's a computer guy that does that. I think he does engineering buildings and stuff like that.
I'm not saying that Jose is wrong. I've never heard of that kind of technology that you
I
run
do it
power.
here. I do it at my shop.
You run power over Ethernet?
Right. Josh, are you familiar with that?
No, not at all.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, it's designed specifically for the fact that you don't have to have a power source at each camera. You have one power source at the beginning of the terminal, which would be in that room.
Yeah, then it's distributed.
Then your Cat 6 or your Cat 5 would be run to each camera. And in that Cat 5, there's a wire in there specifically for powering the camera.
Yeah. He
So,
actually said that they're going to run a Cat 7. I've never heard
Cat
of that.
7, yeah. Well, that's probably, I mean, it used to be Cat 5. Now
Yeah, Cat 5 was
6.
forever. Yeah.
Right. And now I guess I haven't heard of Cat 7, but I'm sure it's getting better and better all the time. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think we need a power drop in every one. I don't mind spending, I don't mind. Now, is that coming out of the funds that we got? Because we got $80,000, right?
What we have is every year or every couple of years, we put an article in and we draw down some of that $200,000 that we've collected.
Right.
And then we use that money to pay for, we have a $5,000 fee for Middleborough.
Right.
To provide us with their basically the distribution point to actually allow us to broadcast the signal. And we have a similar agreement that we share with Lakeville to broadcast the sports, to broadcast the school committee meetings, to broadcast whatever is happening at the school. So we need $10,000 a year out of that, and that's been going up too. So, and then the other part of it is that we have every year we have our costs of the $125 to $175, depending on who's doing the editing, of a camera person.
Because you sent this out to us back one of the meetings that we had $201,484.
Yeah, but you can't use that money. You can't use it without an appropriation. That's why.
Town meeting.
Yeah, unless you get an appropriation for town meeting.
Okay, so
that's what I was saying.
I mean,
Well, that's we have enough money to get through to the fall. If we take 10 grand and say we're gonna spend up to 10 grand, not 10 grand, it could be, like I said, it could be as little as 5,000, it could be 30. I don't know what that number is going to be because I'm not a cost estimator. But in the fall, we'd look to replenish that money so
Okay.
we can continue to pay Lake
Okay.
Cam in
I-
Middleborough and pay for the camera people, but also include an additional amount of money to actually purchase those 5 cameras, to purchase the server, to purchase all
Right.
of the other things out of that
I understand.
$200,000.
I understand that. I just would like to, I mean, I don't, with that square foot building, 1,300 square feet is not really a big building. And I think Jose, I'd like to see Jose to look at that and give us a recommendation on the cameras.
So he would do that, but
But
we're
he
not
can't.
we're not at that camera point. I
No,
want
But we
just
are
sort of a,
running the wires, though, Dave.
yeah, universal drop kind of thing. Then we, whatever is put in there, we just have to make sure that the camera is compatible with the type of cable that we laid out.
Now, let me ask you this question. If up until this point, I guess there's not been a cable committee, correct? I mean, there has been, but they never.
Well, there was a cable committee that included Reverend
Right.
Diaz, Lisa. We met a little bit about 2 years ago when we were negotiating with Lake Cam regarding their services, but other than that, it hasn't been active. The only reason it has really become active again is because we need to get the contract finalized by October.
Right. I don't know. I think $10,000 might be a lot. We can make a motion to take 5,000 out of there and then another 5,000 in a month. Is that correct?
You can do it however you want to do it. I just don't want to be short-sighted. And, I think ultimately I'll run any of the costs through you and through Josh just to let you know specifically how much it is. If it comes up, then we could reconsider it. If it comes up and it says, oh, geez, that's $9,500. All right, let's think about this. Is this, I honestly, I think regardless of what it is, I think it'd be short-sighted not to do it now. I think that, history will look back on it and somebody will say, geez, why didn't you do that when you had the opportunity when the building was
Oh, right. We do
a
that.
skeleton inside?
We do that all the time. I mean, and those
Well,
that do it-
let's learn from our mistakes. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's going to be 10,000.
No, I
It could
agree.
be 5, and neither you nor I know you're pretty frugal. I'm frugal, so I'm not going to pay for something that we don't need, and I'm going to
Okay.
question the cost. So
What if Josh makes a motion to utilize the up to $10,000? But we need to but this committee here needs to get the bill up front before we pay it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say
Okay
we
with
can release the 10,000 into whatever the account or fund is to make it readily accessible once we approve on the cost of doing what that needs to be done. If it's let's hope it's not as insane as it is, but if we get an itemized list of the cost, like a good estimate, and then we can kind of finally approve. But I think
I have no problem with that.
I think they'll have a Josh, I think they'll have a good idea on what actually needs to be done after they meet over in Lakeville, because
Absolutely.
I don't know what the size of Lakeville's room is.
I
but,
think it's about the same.
about the
actually. I've
same.
been at once, yeah.
Yeah,
The
so,
thing is they have a PA system and all of that too. So I don't know if Jose is considering or Jose is considering that as part of the equation, and that wouldn't be a bad thing. That would not be a bad thing.
but he should have a good beat on what we need on Monday. So, again, I think what
Well, I'm
Josh
sorry.
has just suggested was that, yeah, I don't mind releasing the money as long as there's estimates being brought in. And I know Lake Cam, which is Jose, they did the one in Lakeville, so they more than likely would, I mean, I don't know, David, you know more about that. Would that have to go up the bid?
It might be, we might be able to do it as a change order, as part of the police station building project.
So, well, how is that gonna work with the funding for the police department if you do it as a change order under their contract?
Yeah, I talked to Kim about it. There is a way to do it. I don't know, we'd be paying them as a subcontractor.
All right, I would go along with what Josh said, release that money, but any bills that come forth would come before this committee before we authorize the work to be done.
All right. I think, to be honest with you, Bruce, I think we're going to find out relatively quickly because they are going to town over there. I mean, we're going to be opening that building. I suspect that by, I'd say early August, the building is going to be finished. And
Yeah,
they're,
well,
like I said, they're starting to, they have the plaster up, they're starting to paint. They're doing, starting, the most of July is probably just going to be finished work.
well,
So we're 2 weeks away from July, so.
Andy's going over there with Jose on Monday.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if I know based on the meeting we had the other day that they're planning on going to our police department,
After.
and hopefully that'll be right after they go on Monday. I'm not sure. I know there was some logistics involved about, the COVID-19 requirements to get in the building.
Yeah, because you have to have the thermostat.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't have a problem. I mean, I'm not a big expert on that sort of stuff. I know enough to get me by, but I kind of rely on Jose because he's done this before.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind in this process is that the OPM, the project manager,
Yeah.
is the same OPM that was in Lakeville. So the engineer will be the same engineer that more than likely that they used in Lakeville. So he will be equally as familiar as Jose with the layout. They did this after the fact. They didn't, didn't do it while they were doing it.
But I mean, Jose would know what we need for equipment, I like to talk. We can all talk to anybody we want off camera, but I mean, I'd like to once Jose looks at this building and looks at the requirements, come up with a list of equipment that we need, and price that out, excluding what we're talking about now with preparing the room to accept all this.
Well, the thing is if it comes in at 3,000 and we can allocate the balance of the 10,000 to buy a couple of 3 or 4 of the cameras, or buy the server, or buy the modem, or buy, some of the equipment, we're just not going to put anything in that building until the building is done.
I mean, Jose said that the cameras estimated the other day, $2,500 a camera, and at five cameras, that's over 10,000.
Yeah, but like I said, even if we know what we could, you're not going to put those cameras up now anyway.
Right.
If that wiring was there, you're not going to do anything until the building is finished. Because all of the dust and you wouldn't want the dust getting into the cameras. We wouldn't want the dust getting into. In fact, we were talking about that today in terms of the police consoles for the dispatch. We're not putting those consoles in until that room is completely finished and sealed off, because we don't want to put, multi, $1,000 consoles in and have them, when they're sanding the plaster down to sheetrock, having that dust, getting all over the machine. The same thing with the painting. We don't want them spray painting while we have the HVAC on and get the machine clogged,
So, I mean, like I said, Jose knows more about the technical end of the wiring, where it's got to go, what we need. Well, my question is, the other day it was brought up about having to go before the building committee. Is because the building committee?
I wouldn't say the building committee has anything. Well, if we do it as a change order, they may. But let me tell you something. You're not going to get an objection to that. There's no one. on the building committee that's going to object to putting that wire in.
How about if they pay for it?
Mhm. You know, ultimately, it's all the town's
You know,
money.
it seems to me it should have been discussed before we did it in the beginning, or a topic that someone should have brought up other than doing it like now when the building's only 2 months away from being completed. But that's what it is. I mean,
Well, that would come back to, I can't speak to that. I
no, I know. It just, this, I don't want to get into that. But anyways, so I don't know, Josh, what you think about that idea is releasing the 10,000 and then have a list of things that what it's going to cost to have it done before that money gets spent.
Yeah, and then, whatever we don't use, we can always put back or whatever that goes. I'm not sure exactly how that.
Well, the money's going to always be there to be used. It's a question, if it costs 5,000, you still have 5,000 left. Do you want to take that opportunity to buy the server or computer? Do you want to take that? And he said one more piece in that room was expensive. It was like a $1,900.
Yeah.
I think he said a modem of some sort.
He said about $1,500 for, I think it was for the audio cabinet. But I think.
And once again, you got to think about where you're going to store that until.
Well, it would stay in that room,
Well, no, I'm just saying until Labor Day, that building is not open to the general public.
Well, I think like you had said, David, the biggest issue right now, is getting the lines run to the locations that we want, and we don't have to buy that equipment until later on.
Yeah, that's probably the wise thing. And then do it in one shot. You're probably going to get a better deal by buying an entire package all together. Right. And we can do that when we get the additional appropriation in October.
Yeah, definitely be good too to see what the latest, we want to get some good technology in there too. We don't want to get
Yeah, you want to future-proof.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, Jose said something about running. I don't remember if he said it at the meeting about running conduit from the room to where the cameras are going, so that, the one thing I made a mistake here was running hard wire, and I wasn't, when you go to change things, it's difficult because you got it stapled to the 2x4s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think Jose was talking about running conduit or PVC piping from that room to the location of the camera so that you could run the wires later on. So that might be something he's going to talk to Andy about. I don't know.
Yeah, once again, that would save a lot of money because you're just running conduit. It's a tube basically.
Yeah, well, PVC piping would work going from point A to point B, and then you can just pull the wire through. And if you got to add more wires, you just do it without any problems,
Yeah. You just want to make sure the diameter is correct to do that.
Right. 2020 is easy. If it was me, I would have put 4-inch diameter.
Yeah, there you go. You put
4-inch diameter.
8 cables through there.
Yeah, right. So,
that's funny.
Josh, I don't know if you agree with everything. If you do, we get a motion to release that $10,000 with the understanding that it doesn't get spent until we get the estimate and the approval.
Yeah, I put a motion for that.
Okay.
Get it.
Okay, in that case, I'll second it, and I'll poll the members. Josh, are you in favor?
Yes.
Okay, and myself, yes.
Okay. All right. And the other second. All right. A couple other things that real quick. We're probably going to want to have one more meeting to talk about what we're going to be asking of Comcast. I did have an opportunity to actually an email from. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. Her name. The woman from the Middleborough, she runs the Middleborough. Karen Foy, I believe it is. And she said she's been working on their contract and they're not budging at all. I mean, there's no negotiation at all. So we want to go into it with what we have. We just one more meeting to firm up what we're going to make as an offer. Maybe have a meeting with the board to talk about well, you can't even do that in an executive session.
Where's
can you?
Bob?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
He hasn't been doing well, I guess, so.
Oh.
No.
Well, I'll tell you what I've done since our last meeting is, and Josh, I think 2 meetings ago, Josh gave us a link to the state's cable contracts. And I've been going on there and taking notes of what other cities and towns have negotiated. Well, mainly towns, because there's not many towns in the state that, I mean, there's probably a few, but with 20, who have already done their contract for 2020 in our population range, as far as households go.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at most of the stuff on there and making notes on what I see there, because you gave us this here, Dave, the bargaining points that you had given
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And so I've been going down there and looking at the ones that were done in 2020. Like I said, I think one of them was up north. I wrote it down. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Yeah.
But I was going through their contracts and looking at the items that are negotiable that we have here, that we talked about at the last meeting. So I'd like to be able to itemize that list that I have. And I mean, there's not much more than what you have here, Dave.
Okay. All right, so we probably want to have one more beat. The other thing I'd like to do, though, is, let me take a look at my calendar here, is start thinking about when we want to meet with Comcast. And I would suggest that we have a meeting sometime the week of July 6th through the 10th. Maybe I'll send a letter to Mike Gala and say we want to have our first negotiation session that week.
All right.
We get till October or probably.
Yeah, you're gonna
September
need
anyway.
all of that time. You're gonna need all that time. Let me tell you,
No,
based
but I
upon what
mean,
Karen's telling me, you know.
if we meet one more time and go over the topics that we have, can we, I mean, I don't know, what's your schedule, Josh, as far as meeting next week or something like that?
Tuesday is the best. Like today, I have another meeting at 6 o'clock. I have to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday is probably the best day of the week for me. Overall, 5 o'clock's a good time.
I would think, David, I would think July might be a little soon unless we have
Alright.
another meeting in a week or two. And
Well, the next week I could do. The following week I can't. Although I'm technically going to be on vacation, there's really no place for me to go. So, you know, I'll be available if you guys wanted to meet that week at some point, the 22nd to the 26th. Have another meeting then, like on 23rd maybe, and I can tie. I want to start because I suspect it's going to take some time to get a response back from Mike regarding a meeting with Comcast.
All right.
And I'd like to propose. Why don't we propose like the 15th? How about that? July 15th.
With
yeah,
Comcast.
I'm pulling up my,
Wednesday, July 15th.
yeah, that's fine with me. I just checked my schedule, yep.
I think
So I'll send them a letter saying we want to have our first meeting, first negotiation session on the 15th.
That's with Comcast?
Yes.
So we would have to meet prior to that, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and that's why I suggested maybe the week of, Josh said the 22nd, 23rd.
23rd.
Yeah, I'm on the wrong month. 23rd would be a Tuesday. And have a meeting then, and we'll go over the final points.
Well, the 15th on a Wednesday of July. Is
That's July.
Yeah,
That's the Comcast meeting.
that okay with you, Josh?
I think so. Let me just double check my. Yeah, it looks like I don't have. Yeah, looks good for now.
Okay. And then you're talking about June 23rd.
June 23rd for the next cable meeting.
for us.
Yeah, to go over what we've been talking about for our bargaining points.
Okay.
And we're gonna do that at 5.
Yeah, that's fine with me, yeah.
Yeah.
And I promise that I'll only schedule one meeting and I won't let Tim schedule it also.
I don't know how I logged into the Board of Selectmen it said on there.
That's what
Well,
happened.
that was Tim's I don't know. I honestly, this is like I can't seem to get the hang of all of this. It's like, we had 3 cable meetings scheduled, believe it or not. So that's why I sent you a last minute email saying this is the link you should use, because if you logged into the other 2, you would have been in a room by yourself.
I did see that Board of Selectmen thing. I thought it was just something that normally popped up, and then
Yeah,
That's probably Tim, because he coordinated. I thought he wanted me to schedule the meeting, but he had already scheduled it, and then I scheduled it, and I tried to cancel his, and it just ended up being a mess. Anyway, so 6:23 next meeting, and then 7:15 will be our first negotiation with Comcast. If I can, that's him saying yes, let's meet, and that date works for him too.
all right.
Okay, well, do we have a motion to adjourn, I guess?
Motion to adjourn.
Now second that. I'll poll the
Mhm.
members. Josh?
Yes.
Okay, and myself, yes.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Have a
Okay,
good evening.
all right,
Thanks.
Yeah.
thanks.
All right, bye-bye.